In this story, we are told about the spread of a dangerous virus which has shaken the whole world. This virus is spreading so fast that people start turning into dreaded and dangerous mutants. The situation is so serious that even the World Health Organization is proving unsuccessful in finding a cure for it. People are forced to watch their loved ones changing in front of them, but they are unable to do anything even if they want to. The story begins with Emil and his father Francis, who are stuck in heavy traffic while going to a hospital. During this time, both of them argue over something. The argument increases so much that in anger Emil gets out of the car and starts moving forward. Francis goes behind him to persuade him. Then they notice a closed ambulance, which is shaking strangely, and sounds of someone screaming are coming from inside it. Francis panics and pulls Emil to hide behind a car. Suddenly, the door of the ambulance breaks loudly, and a terrifying mutant comes out from inside. He looks like half human and half bird. The security officers present on the spot try to catch him, but he somehow manages to escape from them. After this, Francis and Emil reach the hospital where Emil's mother Lena was being treated. Lena was in critical condition as she was slowly turning into a mutant. In fact, in the last few years, many people around the world were getting affected by this mysterious disease, which turned them into mutants. The nature of these mutants was becoming aggressive with time, making the situation even more serious. The doctor told them that Lena's treatment is going on, but the chances of her getting completely cured are very low. It is also possible that she may never get cured. The government is constantly trying to find a solution to this disease, but when the nature of mutants becomes aggressive, they are kept in a separate place so that effective medicine can be prepared for their treatment. The doctor suggested that it would be better for them if they shifted somewhere else in this city because most people preferred to keep a distance from mutants. Emil supports this thought, but Francis convinces him that their mother, Lena, is still part of their family and it would not be right to abandon her. After this, Emil goes to meet his mom, and here we see that his mom looks quite different from before, with abnormal hair growth on her face. After this, Emil and his dad shift to a new house in this city. Also, Emil gets admission in a nearby school. Being the first day of school, the teacher introduces Emil to all the students. Meanwhile, a student, Nancy, asks Emil about his mom and dad. To this, Emil replies that his dad is a chef and his mom is no longer in this world. Nancy feels guilty about her words, and she immediately apologizes to Emil. Emil likes this behavior of Nancy, and he starts liking her secretly. After school, Emil returns to his home. At night, the weather turns bad and a strong storm begins, which also cuts off the power of the house. Emil wakes up with the loud sound of the storm. He gets up, goes to the window, and looks outside. Then, he suddenly sees a mysterious mutant who quickly disappears into the darkness. Who was peeping inside their house, but the mutant disappears from there the very next moment. The next morning, both of them start working together to remove the tree that fell in front of the house due to the storm last night. Then Francis gets an emergency call. He immediately drives to a place where it is found that an ambulance full of mutants fell into a pond due to the storm last night. Many mutants were killed in this accident. Seeing all this, Francis becomes very upset because he was told on the call that his wife Lena was also in the same ambulance. When he tries to get more information, some officers stop him and calm him down. At the same time, a police officer named Julia tells him that some mutants have died due to the accident, but some have fled into the forest. Julia also tells him that his wife Lena was also among those who ran away. After this, the scene of the next day is shown. At Emil's school, the teacher organizes a tug-of-war match, in which Emil also participates. During the match, Emil's team is struggling in a tug-of-war match when suddenly all of his teammates fall. In this difficult time, Emil pulls the rope with all his strength and manages to defeat the opposing team. The rest of the team members are surprised by his tremendous victory and start praising him. One of his teammates even invites him to his party, but Emil's attention is diverted from their conversation and he is on his hands, where he is feeling something unusual. Emil immediately returns to his home. There he sees something strange inside his nail and tries to remove it, due to which his finger starts bleeding. When he takes off his t-shirt, he sees his back changing shape. Emil gets frightened by these strange changes taking place in his body. He starts realizing that he too is slowly becoming a mutant. Meanwhile, Francis is shopping in the supermarket when he meets Julia. While they are talking, they suddenly hear someone screaming loudly. When they go forward to find out the source of the sound, they see that a customer has seen a mutant and is screaming in terror. This incident makes the atmosphere tense, and Francis and Julia become alert after seeing all this. Julia orders her team to evacuate the entire store, but Francis starts looking for the mutant. Julia also goes with him. Francis thought that perhaps this mutant could be his wife Lena, but when they search for the mutant, it turns out out to be a little girl who had come there to eat fish. Then suddenly the girl tries to run away by throwing things on them. Julia immediately chases her. The girl runs away throwing things at Julia on the way, but Julia catches her with a quick jump. After this, the police take the girl away from there in an ambulance. Then the story moves towards the next Friday, where Emil joins a party with his friends. Everyone is having fun there, but suddenly Emil feels troubled by the effect of alcohol. Nancy gives him a medicine for relief. While taking the medicine, Emil starts licking Nancy's hand in a strange way. Seeing his action, all the friends present there start laughing loudly, and Emil himself also feels a little embarrassed. Seeing himself being made fun of, Emil feels very embarrassed. He immediately gets up and quickly runs out. While running, he reaches a nearby forest. The next morning, when he wakes up, he finds himself lying near a lake. He quickly returns home and goes to the bathroom and takes off his t-shirt to check himself. Then he goes straight to his room. Then he feels that something is stuck in his mouth. When he takes it out, it is a feather. Seeing this, he realizes that he had hunted a bird at night. After a while, Emil and Francis go out to search for Lena in the forest. On the way, Emil asks his father, "How did you feel when mother was turning into a creature?" To this Francis replies, "I never felt anything strange. She just changed a little, but she is still my wife." Both of them keep searching for Lena in the forest, but they do not find any clue for a long time. Night falls, and they sit in the car and roam around the forest calling for Lena. However, despite their efforts, they do not find Lena. A little while later we see that it is about to be morning, when suddenly Emil's dog gets out of the car and starts running towards the forest. Emil immediately runs after him towards the forest to stop him. After reaching inside the forest, suddenly the same Birdman, who ran away from the ambulance in the beginning, attacks Emil. He tries to knock him down and kill him, but as soon as he sees Emil's eyes, he realizes that Emil is also a mutant. After understanding this, he stops. At the same time, Emil's father Francis reaches there to save him. He immediately leaves from there with Emil. On the way, Francis talks about taking Emil to the hospital, but Emil refuses because he knew what could happen to him when he reaches there. An argument starts between the two on this matter. Meanwhile, suddenly a horse comes in front of their car. Francis stops the car by applying brakes at the right time. They see that they have reached near a riding school from where the horse had run away and come on the road. On reaching the riding school, it is found that a mutant had attacked some horses. Due to this, Officer Julia and her team were already present there. When Julia sees Emil's wounds, she asks, "How did this happen?" Emil replies that his dog bit him. Julia takes him to the army camp, where an army doctor stitches Emil's shoulder. During this time, it is found out that the army has also been deployed to catch the escaped mutants. Slowly time passes and strange changes start taking place in Emil's body. Its effect starts showing on his daily life as well. His actions in the class become abnormal, and now he is not even able to pedal the bicycle properly. Seeing this, Nancy asks him, "Are you okay?" Emil makes an excuse of being unwell. After this, Nancy takes him to her house, where both of them talk for a long time. During the conversation, when Emil opens the door to get something to drink from the fridge, he sees a dead bird. The color of the bird was exactly the same as the feather he found earlier. He is shocked to see this and asks Nancy, "What is this?" Nancy thinks for a while and replies, "It is connected to an old story, but I will tell you everything. First, take some rest." When Emil asks, Nancy tells him that she found this bird dead outside and she brought it here. Emil feels a little weird after hearing this. Nancy further says that she wants to give this bird to the army so that they can use it to feed the mutants. After this small conversation, Emil leaves and jumps into a pond and starts catching fish. He eats some fish himself and takes the rest to the same forest where the Birdman attacked him earlier. Upon reaching the forest, he sees the Birdman rolling and falling in front of him. Emil, without fear, places fish in front of him. The Birdman slowly starts eating the fish. Seeing this, Emil tells him his name and asks for his name. The Birdman replies, "My name is Fix." After this, Emil asks Fix about his past life. Fix says that the girl is following him because she has not yet found her real home. Fix then explains that he cannot fly like birds, and that is why he also has no home. Hearing this, Emil takes Fix to a nearby pond so that he can help him fly like birds. Emil starts removing the wood around the pond so that Fix does not get hurt while trying to fly. During this time, a deep friendship develops between Fix and Emil. In the evening, Emil tries to return home on his bicycle but fails to ride it. In anger, he throws the bicycle there and walks home. On the other hand, Francis hears a movement in the backyard of a restaurant which makes him think that it might be Lena. Suddenly a creature comes from behind and attacks him. Francis is able to control himself, but then the owner of the restaurant comes there and calms down the creature and tells him that it is his sister, whom he has tied up here. However, the creature breaks free from the chains and escapes into the forest. Francis immediately follows him into the forest, thinking thinking his wife Lena might be there. After going into the forest, Francis sees an unknown creature that looks like a bear. The creature immediately leaves after seeing him. When Julia arrives at the restaurant with the army team, Francis lies to Julia that he has seen Lena in the forest so that his team can help in finding Lena. At the same time, Emil comes to meet his father and tells him that his bicycle had broken down, so he arrived late. The next day, Emil goes to Fix, who is practicing flying. However, despite repeated attempts, he falls after going a little distance. In the evening, Francis and Julia go to the forest to find Lena. There Francis finds Emil's bicycle. He is surprised to see this and returns home with the bicycle. When Francis comes home and goes to wash his hands in the bathroom, he finds the pipe of the basin jammed. He tries to open the pipe and takes out some hair and broken nails from it. Seeing this, he suspects that Emil is definitely hiding something. When Emil returns home, Francis shows him the nails and asks, "Whose are these? I found them in the bathroom." Emil hesitates and says he doesn't know anything about them. After which Francis shows him the bicycle and says, "I found this in the forest today. What did you go there to do?" Hearing this, Emil tries to run away, but after going a little distance Francis catches him. He says, "My son, I am with you. Tell me, what has happened?" Hearing this, Emil starts crying loudly and says that he is also slowly turning into a creature. The next morning at breakfast, Francis explains to him, "We both will definitely find some solution together. But for now, to avoid the police, you will have to keep your nails and hair cut." Emil also agrees to this. The next day Emil goes to the forest to meet Fix. But this time Fix was unable to say anything. He tries to speak, but his voice is only heard like birds. Now he had also started flying, that is, Fix had completely turned into a creature. He flew and showed it to Emil, seeing which Emil became very happy. That night, Francis asks Emil, "Where were you all day? I called you several times. You shouldn't be out like this anymore." He notices Emil's nails. He picks up a pair of scissors and says, "We have to cut your nails." Emil refuses. Frustrated by Francis's insistence, Emil bites Francis' hand, causing Francis pain and weakening him. Emil then leaves him and goes out. He meets Nancy, who offers to accompany him to her farmhouse. Emil agrees, and the two walk towards the farmhouse, talking. During the conversation, a deep closeness develops between the two, and they come very close to each other. On returning from the farmhouse, Emil encounters his old friend Victor. Victor had already received information that Emil has also started showing symptoms of turning into a creature. He brings a high-frequency device to Emil and activates it. Emil cannot bear the intense sound coming from the device, and he starts writhing in pain. In anger, Emil slaps Victor hard, causing a deep injury on Victor's cheek. Hearing Victor's scream, the nearby army officers and police become alert and start moving towards the forest. Meanwhile, Emil is hiding near the forest, but he realizes that the army and police are approaching him in search of a creature. Out of fear, he starts running into the forest. Just then, a police officer sees him running and shoots at him without thinking. But then Fix comes there and kills that police officer. Emil, who is standing below, also sees Fix, and both of them start running away from there. However, the police were after them. After a long chase, the police shot at Fix at one point, causing him to fall down. Seeing this, Emil immediately reaches him but fails to save his life. Fix dies there. Before the police reaches there, Emil escapes from there. After this, we see that Emil is still wandering in the forest. While roaming here and there, sometimes he eats the fruits of the forest, and sometimes quenches his thirst by bathing in the pond. In this way, he spends 4 or 5 days in the forest. Then one night, while he is staying in a cave, he sees a strange creature. On looking carefully, he finds out that the creature is actually his mother, Lena. Lena has now completely transformed into a bear. Lena recognizes Emil, but she does not stay for long and goes back to the forest. Emil comes out of the cave and goes deeper into the forest in search of her. There he sees that there are many creatures present who were once humans but have now transformed into different creatures. Just then the police arrives there and starts catching these creatures one by one. Seeing this, Emil tries to run away from there but falls after going a little distance. The police catch him, but they consider him a normal human being because they think that he must have reached the forest by mistake. Later, Francis reaches the police station to release Emil. There a police officer tells him that Emil has to sign this paper. Then Emil tries to sign the paper, but his trembling fingers stop him. The officer's sharp eyes are fixed on him, but then Emil's anger erupts. He roars with a deep and wolf-like growl. The whole room stops with his voice. Everyone present there, including the officer, is stunned. Francis is heartbroken to see his son's condition. He pushes the officer down, and after stamping the paper, he runs away with Emil. On the way, Emil tells his father, "I don't want to return home now. My place is in the forest, with Mom." Francis remains silent after listening to him. After some time, Francis stops the car on the edge of the forest. His eyes are brimming with tears. He tells Emil, "Go son, return to your world. Maybe this is right for you." Emil gets down from the car and moves towards the forest. Francis sees him going but is unable to do anything. As soon as he enters the forest, Emil's gait changes. He starts walking more like a wolf than a human. The wild soul inside him is now fully awakened. Francis sees from a distance that Emil is getting lost in the dense darkness of the forest, but now a unique happiness is visible on his face. The camera shows Emil, who runs through the forest and joins the pack of wolves. His roar echoes throughout the forest. The story ends with one last scene where Emil is seen free and happy in the forest